Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see very important articles that appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper. So let's get started guys. Let us see the first article. So see the title guys. Bengal flood toll rises to 28. CM terms it a man-made disaster. So what is the keyword in this article? So first keyword here is man-made disaster. And in yesterday's class, did we discuss about anything regarding this article? Yes, what we discussed in yesterday's class? Yes, in yesterday's class, we discussed about India-Nepal relations, right? So what we discussed in yesterday's class? So India is helping this Nepal regarding what? So there was like very huge rainfall in this Nepal region and as well as Indo-Nepal border, torrential rainfall. Because of that, there is increased water level in this rivers and that led to flash floods. And even that rainfall also triggered landslides. So because of this, many people and many districts of this Nepal had been affected. So in that context, India is helping Nepal as part of which policy? Neighborhood first policy. And our Prime Minister said that India is first responder. Right. So this is the thing that we discussed in yesterday's class. And not only the rainfall happened only in Nepal, but even Indo-Nepal border had been affected. Especially states like Bengal and as well as Bihar also had been affected. Okay, so now this article is talking about toll in which state? Bengal. So in Bengal, many people they lost their life because of this heavy rainfall, flash floods, and as well as increased water level in this rivers. So as you all know that, so here we have Himalayas. Right, so this region is nothing but Himalayan regions and these Indian states are Himalayan states. So here if you see in this Himalayan region, the first one is here we have active plate movements, right? So Indo-Australian plate is moving toward northward. So because of this active plate movement, this region is unstable. So because of this instability, it leads to landslide. So it is the first important reason why this happened. And second one is in this Himalayas we have lots of rivers. They are perennial rivers. We have this river Ganga system and there are lots of tributaries which are coming from this Himalayas and they will join this river Ganga. So what happens if there is heavy rainfall in this region? There will be increased water flow in this rivers of Ganga and its tributaries. That is the second important thing. And you already know that climate change is happening. Because of climate change, there is increased global warming. So because of this also there is glacier melting is happening. This is also an important reason that led to increasing of further more water level in this rivers. So because of all these things now, what happened? Many people they died not only in Nepal but even Bihar and as well as Bengal. So if you see the title, this article is saying that Bengal flood toll, that is nothing but deaths related to this Bengal flood, rises to 28. Now Chief Minister, same is nothing but Chief Minister of this Bengal is saying that it is a man-made disaster. So what is the meaning of disaster? If something happened, if that led to the loss of life, loss of property, loss of infrastructure, then that kind of event is called as disaster. Now this title is saying that CM of Bengal claimed that this flash flood is a man-made disaster. So here you have to understand why this statement made by this chief minister and why this flash flood is a man-made disaster. So if you see, this topic is very important from your geography point of view, right? So we are going to see location of Indo-Nepal border and even we are going to see about the states of Bengal and Bihar. And I said about certain important reasons why this is a disaster, why this area is very much vulnerable to this flash floods now. And next, there is loss of life. So you have to see this topic from disaster management from GS paper 3 point of view. So if you see about these disasters, we have two types of disasters. So what are they? First one is natural disasters, which happens naturally. Second one is artificial or man-made disaster. So if there is any involvement of humans, if that is causing this kind of events, then that is called as man-made disaster. Now CM of this Bengal is claiming that the present flash flood is a man-made. Now you guys tell me how it will be a man-made disaster. Is there any involvement of man in this climate change? Yes. So how? So we are releasing more carbon dioxide emissions. So because of that, what is happening? Climate change is happening, increasing of global warming. Whenever there is increasing of warming, what happens? Water will be getting evaporated. So if water is getting more evaporated, more formation of clouds. More formation of clouds, more rainfall. That is the thing recently said by IMD. There is increased mini cloud burst. What is mini cloud burst? 5 to 10 centimeters of rainfall within 1 hour in 10 square kilometers area is called as a mini cloud burst. So recently IMD said that there is increased mini cloud burst in India. So what is the reason behind this? Humans, right? And second important thing, whenever rivers are flowing in this way, so if there is any monsoon season, if there is expected rainfall, then what we have to do, we have to go for cleaning of these rivers, and we have to make these channels of rivers which are free from this silt, everything, right? So actually the important problem in this Bengal and Bihar is there is no proper desilting activities. So because of that, what happens, if you say this is the capacity of the river. So if there is a silt, if there is sedimentation, if it is settled in the bottom of this river, what happens? The capacity of river will be obviously reduced. So because of this, the carrying capacity of this river will be reduced, so that will leads to flooding. So here if you are removing this, then what happens? We can increase the capacity of this river. The problem in this Bihar and Bengal is we didn't went for proper dredging activities or desilting activities. So this is the second reason. And third important reason why CM is saying it is man-made is there is no proper alerts given to the people regarding the rainfall, regarding the water capacity. Okay. And not only that, Himalayan rivers are very famous for what? Fast flowing water. So this fast flowing water is helpful for production of what? Hydroelectricity. Right. So actually we constructed lots of dams across this Himalayan rivers, but because of the sudden torrential rainfall, sudden release of water from these dams happened without giving any alert to the people. So because of this also, that led to this flash floods in this region. So because of all these three major reasons, here CM of Bengal said that it is a man-made disaster. Will you accept it or not? So humans involving in this climate change, and humans are not taking proper care of desilting activities or dredging activities, and there is no proper alerts to the people regarding rainfall or regarding the release of water from this different hydropower dams in on this rivers. Okay, so this is a thing which mainly said. And here you have to think like, if you are district collector in that area, so what are the steps that you are going to take to ensure that this kind of situations will not repeat in the future? So think in this way. Or else if you are a district magistrate in this area, now what are the steps that you are going to take now to provide relief for these people? What can you do? Come on, think. What can you do? What will you do in this floods? So will people get the basic amenities? At least will they get any proper drinking water or milk or food? So first thing is you have to supply this basic amenities, and if possible you have to displace the people in that area to safer areas, and you have to ensure that proper medical facilities are available for these people. And apart from that, you have to ensure that their livelihood should continue. That means after once this everything is subsided, you have to focus on proper rehabilitation as well as reconstruction. And even the people who died, for their families, government should provide what? Compensation. Okay, so in that way you have to think. And in future also, like how we can prevent this kind of incidents in future. So you have to think in that way, guys. That is the thing which mainly said here. So what is a man-made disaster? Man-made disaster have an element of human intent, either because of human negligence or any human error, which is leading to this failure of man-made system, and it leads to this disasters. Okay, for example, we have crimes, arrisons, civil disorder, terrorism, war, biochemical or chemical threat, or cyber attacks, etc. These will be like man-made disasters. So why this man-made disasters are cause of concern, or why we have to take certain steps? So first one is there is increasing of number of climate refugees. So as you all know that humans are releasing more amount of carbon dioxide emissions by using of vehicles, industries, and we are exploiting this natural resources beyond their limit, right? So because of this, what is happening? Climate change, environmental degradation is happening. So because of that, it will lead to inundation, it will lead to desertification, it may lead to soil erosion, changing of coastlines, that will lead to increasing of impact of disasters. And this one here is because of this man-made disaster, it will also causes economic loss, loss of family, right? So if a person who is a bread earner of the family dies, then what happens? That entire family will be having economic stress. And this one here is it will be also having social impact. It will be also having psychological impact on the humans. And why this CM Mamta Banerjee called it as a man-made disaster? The first one here is there is uncoordinate water release from the dams, as I said. So there is huge influx of water from this Damodar Valley Cooperation. So actually this cooperation, it is a central state joint entity, but unilaterally without giving any alerts to the state, they released water. So because of this, very huge influx of water happened in this downstream areas. And this one here is excessive inflow from neighboring regions, like from Bhutan, also from this Tala hydropower project also. There is heavy water which entered into the Sikkim from there to northern Bengal region. And also Indo-Bhutan River Commission also didn't properly coordinated regarding this release of water from the dams. That means between India and Bhutan also there is no proper coordination regarding information sharing of water in the dams. And next one here is there is neglect in flood management infrastructure. So in this Ganga Hooghly region, there is no proper dredging and desiltation, as I said. And next one here is there is no proper mitigation measures. So because of this, this region is very much high vulnerable during this monsoon season in India. Clear? And now let us see the next article. See the title: India Australia to sign joint defense and security cooperation declaration. So what is this article talking about? It is talking about India-Australia relations, right? So where is Australia located? Location of Australia, anyone? It is located in southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere? So India is present in northern hemisphere and this Australia is present in southern hemisphere, right? Okay, so now we are talking about India-Australia relations, right? So this article is very important from which subject? From international relations from GS paper 2. So let us go back to the title. So this article is saying that we are going to sign joint defense and security cooperation. Okay, so this article is talking about our defense minister. He is going to visit Australia. In this visit, we are going to sign an agreement, and this agreement is focusing on maritime and security cooperation between India and Australia. Okay, so this is Indian Ocean, yes or no? And this is which ocean? Okay, Pacific Ocean, right? So here this article is talking about improving of security in this Indo-Pacific region. So is this Indo-Pacific region important or not? Why it is important? If it is important, for what? So recently we studied about India got permission for what? Polymetallic sulfate exploration. Yes or no? Holidays, everything. Very good. So actually in this Indo-Pacific region or Indian Ocean region, we have good resources, especially polymetallic nodules, and India got permission recently to explore this polymetallic sulfates from this Indian Ocean region, right? Recently we discussed that. And apart from that, water or this sea routes are very important for what? Trade. Yes. Okay, so what is happening in this Indian Ocean region? There is increased expansionist aggressive policy of China, right? To counter this also, we need support of Australia, because in international relations, friend will be our friend. Friend's enemy will be our enemy. Enemy's enemy will be our friend. So India and Australia, they are friends. Who is the common enemy? China. So to counter this China, we need help of like-minded countries. Okay, to counter this China, we need help of Australia. So because of this, we are going to have this Maritime Security Cooperation Agreement. So what we are going to have in this agreement? So first one is we are going to share data. So India is located here and Australia is located here. Here we have China, right? So if there are any enemy related ships which are moving in this region, so we need to get the information, right? If you're not getting information, can we take any action? No. So for example, we can focus on proper information sharing. So which ships are moving in this region? Is there any threat for India or Australia? So we are going to have the proper information sharing and coordination between India and Australia now with this agreement. And next one is we have submarines, right? So we have submarines. So we can also share information regarding submarines. If there is any problem for our submarines in this Indian Ocean, we can take help of Australia for making it ready. Okay? And not only that, we can also do certain kind of exercises in this maritime arena so that we can share the best practices, instruments, technology between India and Australia. So why we have to focus on this maritime area? First of all, that is a very important thing that you have to know. So India is sharing long coastline, right? We have western coast and we have eastern coast, and in this coastal area also we have lots of threats. What are the threats in this coastal area? First one here is Mumbai attacks. How it happened? So terrorists entered into India through this sea route only. Okay, so to protect our coastline from this terrorism or terror attacks, we need to have proper information sharing. And even you know that recently in this Kerala, what happened? Two ships from different countries had had been created a disaster in this area in this Arabian Sea. There was oil spill. That name of the ship is Elsa ship of Singapore. So can you recall that 4 to 5 months ago this happened? And to maintain proper environment, we need cooperation between the countries to control this kind of oil spills. And even you know that here in this region, what is the problem? Here we have Africa. So this is called as like, that region is Horn of Africa. So especially Djibouti is a country where the people will be dependent on hijacking of the ships which are moving there. Hijack is nothing but they will occupy the ship and they will loot the goods and services which are present in that ship. So to protect the trade and to protect our containers, we need to have the proper information sharing. And not only that, if there is pollution which is happening in this coastal region, is that good for the people? No. There will be loss of livelihood, loss of resources, and marine biodiversity will be getting affected. To maintain all these things, now we need proper information sharing. So all these things that we will get by signing of this Maritime Security Cooperation Agreement with Australia. And actually not only this, you know that Australia plays a very important role in Indian monsoon, yes or no? So Indian monsoon is very important for India because monsoon season will bring rainfall to our country, and most of our agriculture is mainly rain fed agriculture, means dependent on on this rainfall. So what happens if here low pressure is there, and if here we have low pressure And in the South America, if we have high pressure, there will be strong movement of winds towards this region, and it will be causing good rainfall. But what happens if there is high pressure formed here and low pressure formed here? Reversal movement of winds, and it will be not attracting good winds into our country. That will be having impact on our rainfall, right? So with this Australia, if you're having good relations, we can also get the conditions like whether there is high pressure or low pressure formed there. So based on that, we can also make our policies and programs related to farmers, agriculture, everything. So in this way also, it is very, very important to maintain proper relations between India and Australia. Clear? Okay, now let us see the context. India and Australia, they are going to sign a renewed and strengthened joint declaration on defense and security cooperation. So our defense minister, he is going to visit this Australia on this October 9th to 10th, and we are going to sign this agreement. And we are focusing on especially expansion of our framework regarding defense and as well as security engagements, especially across air, across sea, land, and as well as cyber domains now. And we are focusing on this maritime security now because this Indo-Pacific region is very important because 80% of the global oil transport which happens through this region itself. And oil is very important for any country for maintaining of energy security. So that we have to ensure proper security in this region. So for this, we need proper information sharing. And during this agreement, we are focusing on three important areas. First one is, as I said, intelligence or information sharing. So here, whenever we are signing this kind of agreements, there will be proper sharing, real-time sharing of information between India and as well as Australia. And next one is, we are going for submarine rescue agreement. So that means if there is any help which is required for our Indian submarine operations, we can take now the help from Australia to get it correct. And next one is, we are also going for joint staff talk agreement. That means we are going to have high level military dialogues, and we are also going to share intelligence, and we are also going to share the best practices, equipments they are having, kinds of exercises they have to do, everything we can share now. Okay, so what is the impact of this kind of agreements? Do we have any impact? Yes, the first one is we can improve interoperability and as well as cooperation and trust between India and Australia. And next one here is we can also boost our industries, especially if you're getting this kind of technology defense system of Australia, we can give that to our Indian companies and we can make the models based on that so that we can improve our command on this defense equipment manufacturing in our country as part of self-reliance or Atmanirbhar Bharat, which will be the component under Make in India. And next one here is we can also improve our dialogues between this, and we can also, that will also lead to this free trade agreement between India and Australia. And we can improve the safety and security in this Indo-Pacific region. And we can also counter this aggressive policy of China in this region. And we can also strengthen Quad, AUKUS, etc., where India and Australia both are the members in that kinds of groupings. Okay, and we can also focus on some threats like illegal fishing, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and we can also focus on climate related events. So in this way, there will be proper cooperation between India and Australia now. Clear? And say this article guys, very important article of the day. Navy commissions its second ASW class ship INS Androth. So you'll be getting this kind of INS. INS is nothing but Indian naval ship, right? So here this article is very important from your defense and as well as from GS paper 3 under science and technology. In science and technology, you'll be studying about this defense chapter. So in that defense technology, you'll be studying about our Air Force, our Army, our Navy, and what kind of equipments, what kind of instruments these people will be using. So actually this is used by Indian Navy. So Indian Navy will be guarding our maritime border, right? So we have western coast and we have eastern coast. So they will protect this boundary, right? Our coastal areas will be protected by this Navy. So if they want to protect our coastal areas, which kind of equipments they want? They want ships, they want aircraft carriers, they want submarines. So these are the three they will be using. So actually this is nothing but anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. Okay, so actually we know we have submarines, right? What these submarines will do? So have you watched this movie Ghazi? So if you have watched that movie Ghazi, it will show about the clear picture about this submarine. So if you go to Vizag, there is submarine. What is that? Submarine tourism is also there. So if you pay 200 rupees as a ticket, then you can enter into that submarine. You can understand like how the submarine works. So if you have time, you can visit that once. Okay, so actually the submarine is nothing but it will be present under the water, and it will be getting information, and it will be seeing like what is happening in this water arena, everything. And in the submarines we have two types. One is diesel powered submarines, next one is nuclear powered submarines. Diesel powered submarines are nothing but the submarines which mainly works by using this fuel diesel. In nuclear, so we'll be using nuclear material. Okay, so actually it is nothing but it is anti-submarine warfare. That means if any country, if it is trying to attack our Indian submarines, we will be using this kind of ships to counter that attack. Because of this, they are called as anti-submarine warfare, and we can use it in shallow water. So in normally near the coast itself, the ship will be there and will be attacking that submarine. So it is attacking our own submarine. Okay, so actually it is mainly intended for our coastal security. We want this kind of anti-submarines to improve our coastal security and anti-submarine patrols, and also shallow water operations in our maritime zones. For different purposes we can use this kind of ships, and especially it is mainly going to be positioned in our Lakshadweep archipelago. Lakshadweep is an island, right? So if you see Indian islands, we have two major islands. One is Andaman and Nicobar, and next one is Lakshadweep Islands. And this Lakshadweep are coral-based islands. And we are going to keep this in this area. And in this area, it will go into surveillance in this area. Especially, we will be protecting our western coast, and as well as so whatever the submarines which are present in this Arabian Sea of India will be getting protection from this INS Androth nav. Okay, and who developed this? It is Indian made. It is mainly developed by one shipbuilders and engineers from Kolkata. And the important aim of this Androth is anti-submarine warfare capability, and whatever the threats that we are going to have in the underwater, so it is going to neutralize the threats. And next one here is we are going to improve coastal surveillance, and we are going to safeguard this maritime borders. And actually 80% of this technology is made in India, so it also supports our Made in India and as well as Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, so we are also going to reduce our import dependence now if it is success. Okay, and also equipped with the state of art sonar, sensors, etc., so that it can detect submarines in the water. So let us see the next article. Title says Fisheries sector hopes to beat US curbs with sustainability label. So what is this article talking about? It is talking about something related to fisheries sector. Yes. So if you see what is happening in the recent past related to this fisheries. So India is sharing a longest coastline. It is around 11,098 kilometers of coastline that we have, right? Okay, so the people who are living in this coastal region, what will be their livelihood? Mostly fishing is their livelihood. So what happened in the recent past in this fishing sector? So US imposed 50% of tariff. So because of this, especially shrimp cultivation of AP is getting affected. That's the thing that we studied. Yes or no? So will government keep silent if this lots of people who are dependent on this fishing sector will be getting affected by this US tariffs? Will government keep silent? No. So now what government can do to improve this profits of these people or to maintain livelihood of these people? So if these people are not getting livelihood, then what happen? So government have to provide extra support for them. Government had to provide them the skill development or training so that they can shift to the another occupation. So is that possible to provide each and everyone in this area to get funds or to get training or to shift towards other livelihood opportunities? No, right? So government has to take certain steps to increase their income from this fishing sector. So how can government enhance this income of this fishermen? How can government ensure the livelihood of these people? Tell me, what can you do? If you are a district collector in that area, what will you do? For example, this area in one district in AP, entire population of that district is dependent on this shrimp cultivation. Especially in which area we have this Royal Cherulu, Chapel Cherulu, Nellore, Konasima. Okay. Which Varam? Bhimavaram. Okay, if you are district magistrate of Bhimavaram, then what will you do? So everyone is coming to you and complaining you. Will you sit idle? No, right? So you have to take some steps. So what kind of steps that you can take? You have to give the support for them to export to other countries, yes or no? So if not US, then we have to search for other country where we can export our goods so that we can ensure the livelihood of the people. So that is the thing which government is doing now, but through another way. So that way is we are not going through this FTAs. So you know FTA, right? That is free trade agreement. So if you are signing free trade agreement, we can go for exporting, importing without any tariffs, without any duties, so that we can provide access to this fishermen community to export their goods to other countries. But is that easy to sign an FTA with a country? So we are talking about this FTA between India and US from last 4 to 5 years onwards. Till today, there is no signing of that. So this FTA is very, very time taking. So here it won't happen that much easy. So rather than that, now government is going to send our fishes and as well as shrimps to get Marine Steward Council certification. So if you are getting certification for our fishes and as well as our shrimps or prawns, so what happens? So it will be like getting valid and it will be giving certain, it will check certain quality, and based on that they'll give certain certificate, and based on that certificate now we are going to export that fishes, that shrimps to other countries, so that we are going to ensure that livelihood opportunities for that fishermen days. So you may get a question, recently Marine Stewardship Council certification is in use. It is given to what? It is given to saline fishes and as well as shrimps. So in June month 2025, so do you know this Chilika Lake? Chilika Lake. So in that Chilika Lake, it is famous for mud crabs. You know crabs, right? So Chilika Lake is famous for the mud crabs. For the first time in India, mud crab got this kind of certification, and that led to enhanced export of this mud crabs to other countries. So in the similar way, we are going to get this saline fish and shrimp variety certification under this MSC, and we are going to now exports to other countries. If not US, we have many countries. So how many countries are in the world? 190? 3? 8? 7? 3? According to 193. But even some countries, they didn't get the recognition. For example, even we are talking about Israel, Gaza, Palestine, right? So there are, even Taiwan is also there in news. It also wants to be a separate country, but China is claiming that it is my territory. So like that, there are certain countries which not got even today the recognition as a country. So see, totally with recognition how many, without recognition how many. So if not US, we have many countries. So we can now export this shrimp and as well as this saline fish with this MSC certification to other countries, so that we can ensure this fisherman community now in our country. Okay, so this is very, very important topic actually. So here, if you're getting this kind of questions, like US 50% tariff, how it is going to affect Indian economy, and what are the measures we can take? In that measures, you can write this MSC certification for shrimp. Clear? So in this way, you have to use this kind of articles, guys. So this article is saying that Indian fisheries sector is a cornerstone of country's blue economy. What is blue economy? So whenever we are getting money from this ocean and ocean related sources or resources, then that is called as blue economy. So here Indian fisheries are contributing a lot to our blue economy, and around 2 lakh crore annually we are getting from this blue economy, guys. And how many people are employing in this fishery sector? 14 million people. This is not a simple number, right? So 14 million people they are employing in this fishery sector, which are going to be affected by this India US tariffs. Okay, so actually in the response to this tariffs of US, now our country is focusing, our government of India is focusing on this MS, that is Marine Stewardship Council eco label certificate, so that we can export to other countries. So what is this? Why? Because regarding this fisheries also we have one important scheme, that is Pradhana Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So you have to know about that, Pradhana Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So as part of that, government is providing certain support for this fishermen. Okay, as part of that we are focusing on this getting of MSc certification now. So what is MSc certification? Marine Stewardship Council is an international NGO and it is focusing on sustainable fishing. So in governance you have this topic called as NGOs, non-government organizations, right? So there you have to make a note of some important NGOs which are doing actually the good work. Okay. So recently we discussed about Educate for All. One NGO got Ramson Magsaysay Award. It is also doing a very good job. So what job it did? Around 2 crores dropout girls went back to school because of that NGO, right? And apart from that, we have Pratham, one NGO which will be giving ASA report. So like that, you have to add certain NGOs which are doing good. And recently regarding tuberculosis also, on this National Tuberculosis Day, we discussed about one NGO, what work it is doing. So you have to make a note of all those things. So here we have Maritime Steward Council. It is NGO. It is a non-profit organization which is focusing on promoting sustainable fishing, and it will be giving certificates. It's nothing but eco label, and it is a globally recognized eco label for wild capture fisheries. So they'll give certificate that whatever the fishes that you are taking, they'll be checking the quality and they'll be checking the sustainable fishery stocks. And because of this fish farming, or because of this catching of fish, we are not causing any environment impact. So that they will be giving certain healthy labels for that so and so fishes, so that the value of our fish will be improved. So that what happened? Obviously, we will be paying more money. So if you go to any market or any supermarket, so if you are buying apples, so will you buy the apple with label or without label? Actually with sticker, it will be like red sticker, white sticker, green sticker. Have you ever seen that stickers? So based on that color of the stickers also we can understand which kind of fruit it is. Do you know this? No? Color of sticker which is present on that apple, oranges. So if you are having this sticker, even though the price is more, we'll pick it up, right? Yes or no? Yes, sticker is there, it is good quality. If sticker is not there, it is bad quality. So this is the mindset of people. In the same way, if you are getting the certification for our fisheries, we can increase the value, export value of our fish, that will support biodiversity conservation, and even it will enhance this livelihood security for the people, guys. Okay, now let us see the next article. Title says ensure compliance. Firms that make poor quality drugs must face consequences. So if you are following news, one news which is there in one important issue which is there in news, what is this? Cough syrup. Have you heard this? So because of the cough syrup which is given to the children, around 12 to 16 children from Rajasthan and MP died. Do you know this? In India, it is not for the first time actually. So every year this will be news. And actually not only in India this kind of deaths happen. So India is very famous for the pharmaceutical sector, you know that, right? And India will be sending this pharmaceuticals or this medicines to other countries. So till now, from 2020 to October onwards, more than 300 children they died by consuming Indian made cough syrup. Okay, so if you're from this pharmacy background, B pharmacy or M pharmacy or PharmD, you'll be knowing about how the syrups are made. So how the syrups are made? Any idea? No idea. Okay, syrup. Have you seen that at least syrup bottle? So can you tell me some names of the syrup names of cold and cough syrups? Benadryl, Ascoril, lungs image will be there on that. Have you seen that at least? So from now onwards, just see the label of that medicine. You will be having what kind of ingredients they will be having. So first one here is they will be using active medicament. Active medicament is nothing but the drug which will be helpful to cure that disease. Active medicament. So in this cough syrup we will be having ascoril, phenylephrine. So those will be like chemicals or the ingredients that will cure you from this cough. So apart from that drug, we will be having certain liquid. So if you see the syrup, it will be like liquid only, no? So in that they will be adding some coloring agent. Sometimes you can see yellow color, brown color, red color. Sometimes it will be like light orange color, which is menthol. So and even they will be adding some flavor agent. So have you seen flavoring agents, coloring agents, some water they will be adding. So that water, in that water, actually what they'll do is we will be adding certain powder. Okay, we will be adding certain powder which is the medicine. So we have to dissolve it in the water. And apart from this, if this powder is like not taste good, it is bitter, so children will not take that, right? So for that they will add some sugars. Added sugars will be there, and they will add some flavors. And to mix all those things in that water, they will be adding glycerin. Do you know this glycerin? Glycerin will be added to make all these components to dissolve in that, so that they will be making an equal solution or a mixture. So if they are using this glycerin, so normally this glycerin is a chemical which will be used in normally paints and even brake fluids and in paints. So like that they will be using this kind of glycerin. So normally our pharmaceutical industries, they are using very low quality glycerin to make this solution to be even. So because of this, what happens if they are not using quality glycerin, what happens, that glycerin will be disintegrate. So if you see on the labels, you can see that store in cool place, avoid sunlight. Have you seen that kind of precautions? So if you are not following that precautions, and if you are keeping it on sunlight, or if sunlight is falling on that, or if you are not using keeping in the cool place or dry place, obviously what happens, this glycerin will be disintegrates into two components. First one is diethyl glycol, and next one is ethylene glycol. And these are the toxic. This is not that much toxic, but whenever this glycerin is disintegrated into this diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol, then this will cause the death in the children. So what happens is, whenever children who are taking this syrup which is having this DEG and EG, directly they will attack our kidneys. Kidneys will stop function. So because of this kidney stopping function, there will be increasing of infection in the body that will lead to the death in the children. Okay, so now why it is in use? Because recently ICMR did raids on one company. That name of that cough syrup company is Cold Reef. So actually what happened, around 12 children they died in this Madhya Pradesh and as well as Rajasthan. So after that ICMR did test and raided this Cold Reef company, and in that sample they got that around 48 percentage of diethylene glycol is present. 48%, you can understand, there is very high level of toxicity in that cough syrup of this Cold Reef, and that is the reason why that led to the death of this children in this Madhya Pradesh and as well as Rajasthan. So after that what happened, we have one more organization, CDSCO, and CDSCO banned manufacturing of that cough syrup of this Cold Reef. Actually this manufacturing is happening from the state of Tamil Nadu. Now CDSCO came and banned this manufacturing in this Tamil Nadu, guys. So that is the thing. Okay, so this is the issue which is happening in India regarding this cold and cough syrup. Okay, so now this article is saying that yes, CDSCO, that is Central Drug Standard Control Organization, cancel this manufacturing license of that company. It's good. So these measures are good to address situation in instant case. So instantly at the present time, it is good. But in long term, we have to take certain measures to stop this kind of events to be happen furthermore, right? So here this article is saying that we should have zero threshold or zero tolerance for poor quality, because Because if you are not making the drugs which is of good quality, it will be affecting the health of the people at large, right? It will be causing societal trauma, it will be causing psychological trauma, it will be causing loss of life, it will be causing loss of fame. Actually, the doctor who prescribed this drug, do he know like it is having this contaminants? No. Whenever they are getting this kind of drugs in the market, they will be obviously prescribing this kind of cough syrup if any patient who comes to him with a complaint of cough. So they don't know about this kind of contamination, right? So what happened here is, even there is cancellation of license of that doctor as well, and even there were certain penalties are given for this doctor also. So because of this article is saying that we have to go for proper monitoring is necessary. And whenever any pharmaceutical company, if it is violating its violations, then what happened? We have to detect that violation and we have to stop or we have to cancel the manufacturing license of that company. And next they are saying that we have to go for proper reporting of violations. We have to go for regular and surprise inspection of drug batches. Okay, and we have to take appropriate action for every violation. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly said here. So here we have to see this 3 to 4 points given in the second paragraph. Please make a note of it. Okay, now let us see the next article. So from today onwards, every day till October 13th, there will be news regarding Nobel Prizes. Okay, so in our today's paper, there is about Nobel Prizes regarding medicine. So like that you will be having till October 13th, every day the articles will be there. So just you have to keep a separate page for this Nobel Prizes, and you have to see the category like medicine, to whom it got and why it got. And next you have to see like economy, peace, physics, chemistry. So in this fields, to whom it got and why, what is the reason why they got. You may get a question not only in UPSC, but even if you are writing any other competitive examinations, there is a very high chance of asking questions regarding this. Okay, so this article is saying about Nobel Prize in this medicine or physiology category. So the names here is Fred Ramsdell, Shimon Sakaguchi, Mary E. Bronco. So these three persons got this Nobel Prize 2025 in this category of physiology or medicine. And actually they studied about immune tolerance, peripheral immune tolerance. And actually they have done research work for understanding of how our immune system is protecting ourselves from the different diseases. And actually you know that we humans will have this autoimmune disorders. What is autoimmune disorders? So our immune system will identify our cells as foreign cells, and our immune system will start attacking our own cells, and our immune system will destroy our own cells. That kind of disease is called as autoimmune disorders. So actually these people, they worked on this autoimmune disorder and how to treat this autoimmune disorder by correcting our immune system. Because of this study, they got this Nobel Prize in this 2025. And it was announced by this Nobel Committee of Sweden. And these three scientists have worked in USA and as well as Japan, 2 from USA and 1 from Japan. And they focused on especially how our immune system regulation will help for developing of treatment for this autoimmune disorders. Okay, so that's it. And if you see some facts regarding this Nobel Prize. Okay, so actually this Nobel Prize was signed by Alfred Nobel, industrialist and as well as innovator or inventor of Sweden in 1895 itself. And from 1901 onwards, they are giving this Nobel Prize every year, and especially they will give for different categories. So those categories are, first one is medicine, next one is physics. You have to know this: medicine, physics, chemistry, literature, peace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. But they added the 6th category later on. They are also giving this economy related Nobel Prize also. Okay, have to remember this. You may get a statement based question. It was signed by this Alfred Nobel, and they may ask this categories, in which categories Nobel Prize can be given, and they may add art, but art is not there here. Okay, so in that way UPSC will try to confuse you. So you have to remember it is given for physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, peace, and as well as economy. Until October 13th, you will be getting this kind of news every day. And you have to see what is that, why they got this. That's it, nothing more than this. So these are the important topics that appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And one more thing here is, please do follow us on Instagram, where we are providing prelims question with answer, and as well as mains question with model answer, and also current affairs in short. Thank you so much guys for watching.